It's the final episode of the Percy Jackson Spectacular Month, as well as the first season of the podcast. And Amanda is here again.
I
And today we're going to talk about the first two episodes of the Disney Plus Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV show that just premiered this week. Um, so exciting.
Yay.
Before if you go any further, listeners, make sure you listen to the at least the book episode. You can skip the movie episode if that is your wish, though it is quite unhinged and entertaining.
And it is perfectly hinged. I am very coherent the whole way through, and a fact that I do not attribute to myself, but I attribute to your amazing editing that you were
Thank
able to
you.
make that coherent.
Thank you. I really appreciate it because I listened to your rants multiple times.
Yeah.
It's fine. I literally was like, "Hey, do this with me." So,
Yeah.
I'm not blaming anyone. I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah, I told you.
The people like the Amanda rants, and by people, I mean my cousin Deb. Hey, Deb, what's up? Did I text you? I meant to text you. Deb, right after the episode came out last week, they messaged me and they're like, I laughed so hard listening to Amanda's rants. I love that person. And I was like, thanks, Deb. You would love Deb. She's great. So before we dive into it, we both had grand expectations, correct?
I
I had
yeah.
grand expectations based off the trailer.
I didn't. Okay, so here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
I did not watch any promotional material. I did not watch any trailers. I actively avoided any casting interviews. Like you sent me that video and I didn't watch it because I did not want to
I thought you
engage
had
with
finished
any.
watching it. That's why I sent it to you. I waited till today to send you those videos, but spoiler, she did not watch it until after I thought she did.
Oh
Which is
yeah.
fine.
So poor Janessa texted me at like 2 o'clock today and was like, "Hey, I got out of work early. Let's do the pod so we don't have to do it at night." And I'm like, "I still haven't watched them."
It's fine.
I've actively avoided all the promotional materials, and I was like, I don't know. I was excited, but in that really nerve-wracking way.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like in the
in the
if we
anxious
weren't
way.
doing this podcast, I probably wouldn't watch it until everything was out kind of way.
Ah, gotcha. Are you okay? I'll ask that. Never mind. Okay, let's just get into it. First of all, episode one is named "I accidentally vaporized my pre-algebra teacher,"
Hmm.
aka a chapter title, and I love that they're using the chapter titles.
That's so good. And
It's
I
immediately
I
like
it's
chills.
just a good way to kind of introduce the story and
Mm-hmm.
incorporate that fun little bit of humor from the books without belaboring the point. Like
Mm-hmm.
episode one starts off with Percy on this dark, mysterious plane.
With the first line of the book,
Yes, and I was like, "Oh, you said the thing.
I
You said
didn't
the
want to be a
thing."
half-blood. Thunder.
It
Ugh.
was great. He's what's his name again?
Walker Scobell.
Yeah,
Scobell.
he's an actual baby. Like
Yeah. How old is he? Let's see. Born in 2009. What does that mean?
he's like 14.
Is that math?
Yeah, that was math.
Yeah, and they filmed it in late 22 and finished it up at the top of this year. So, like, you can tell by his voice that he is currently going through puberty.
Yes.
Yes, which is like
Um,
in the good way, not like in Treasure Muppet Treasure Island.
yeah, God bless.
Sorry.
But honestly, more importantly, I just want to say I was gonna say this before we started and then I got
Yes.
sidetracked. Um, I think we are doing a little bit of a disservice to this adaptation. And I know why we're doing it by just covering these first two episodes, because
Hmm.
we're not gonna get to see how it plays out, or the viewers won't get to see how we feel about it playing out.
I
And I
mean,
feel sad for them.
okay. So here's what we call when the industry a call to action, Amanda. Viewers, mainly Deb, because I don't know if my uncles care about the series, but I know Deb will listen to it. If you want Amanda and I in season two to have a special week where we talk about the full season, You gotta tell me. And you know where to tell me, Amanda? The place you don't go to.
Instagram.
Instagram. Go to my Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast. You can DM me, comment on the pictures. That's how you can get a hold of the podcast until I one day have enough people for a Patreon. That's the dream. Okay. But yes.
I didn't take a lot of notes because this is exactly what I knew was gonna happen. I was like, I cannot take my eyes off the screen for 10 seconds because
That's
what if
why I
everyone
watch
dies?
things twice mostly. They want to do all 5 books. They're not gonna die in episode 1. I
I
mean,
don't know, man. Anxiety's weird.
yes, but you are a very logical person sometimes.
I know, isn't it really infuriating?
Sometimes as someone who likes to be not logical, it is.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, so like anyway, it opens up on this dark plane, then it cuts to black. We have I've accidentally vaporized my algebra teacher, and they get like a nice little backstory of Percy as like a child seeing weird things.
I loved it. Okay, but
Yes.
question, does that actor look like a CGI small version of him?
No, it looks like the guy who played Wonder.
I never watched Wonder.
I didn't either.
We could do it for the pod. It's a great book. Anyways,
And then like I love, and we'll get more into this a little bit later, but I love all the little references, like
yes,
the first
the magic cards, the non-magic magic cards.
The mytho magic cards that don't come into the third book, having them in the first episode was so fun. And then I was even thinking like the Black Pegasi, that could be Blackjack.
Yes, exactly. That's what I wrote down. I was like, it's Blackjack. Absolutely. Immediately after the like flashback to Percy being a little kid, I was like, put a star, look at the soundtrack later. The scoring on these episodes are amazing. I looked it up. The person who did the scoring for the show is Bear McCreary. He also did the music for Outlander, for a ton of video games, for The Ring of Power, which is like but the music is really good. Like the God of War games, like a ton of really good music. So if you like soundtracks and scoring, look up Bear McCreary. But I can't wait for the Percy Jackson album to be on Spotify because I will be playing it when I'm doing computer work.
Yeah, it's
so good.
So good. I had the same thought later on. I like the music choices are really fun. They're really bombastic. They kind of like remind me of a fun mix of like of power of
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings and Marvel with the like upbeat but also kind of like the
Yeah. So then after the flashback, which we do he does talk about his best friend Grover, and we do see them both getting bullied and then bonding over being bullied and being the outcast together. We get sent to
Grover is adorable. Like from the first moment I saw him, I'm like, oh, here's another baby. Like another baby.
Yes, they all just need to be protected at all costs.
It's gonna be so scary. Like and I'm really glad that they did it this way. Like, because when you're like 13, 12, whatever age reading the books, you're like, oh, cool. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh my God, these are children and they're fighting monsters that are trying to kill them.
So we get sent to we're assuming present day at the Met, and it's on their field trip, like in the books. And we have Mr. Brunner talking in the background about the gods in like this very like poetic way. The actor who plays Mr. Brunner, I don't know who he is. I thought he did a really great job of like acting out as if he was like an ancient person in modern day, like the way he talks, like it's very much like an ancient like vibe is what I wrote down. I don't know how else to explain it. Like it fits really well. And like we can talk about this a little bit later. I've seen some TikToks of some BIPOC people who are like loving the casting of the show, but then they're like, oh, but then you realize that Mr. Brunner.
I saw that TikTok.
Yeah. We can talk about that later.
Some problematic tropes.
Yes, but like he's also a great actor, so I'm like, I feel
like we should just go ahead and talk about it now because like I did not have the same reaction to Chiron. Sorry, Brunner.
Should we wait till spoilers? No, I think this is the 3rd episode of this book movie show pairing. Spoilers.
Mr. Brunner is actually a horse.
Yeah, a centaur. Excuse you. He's half
I'm
person.
sorry. Half horse.
But yeah,
Anyway, but so like I didn't actually vibe with him too hard. I thought he made Chiron feel kind of flat, but I think it's a good point to bring up what you said about like how he's like an ancient person trying to live in modern times because that
yeah.
makes a lot more sense.
That's like I thought the acting was really good, but he does fall into that kind of trope
Yeah.
of older magical
Older.
black man like helping out.
Yeah,
Like
without much motivation of his own and just
he-
there to give sage advice to
but
the
again, it's
young
only the
protect.
first episode, so like but also he's not really if it's we're assuming it's following the books, he's not really after you know episode after episode 3, he's not really going to be much in the first season.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, will he you know what I mean? So I'm like I have like a yellow flag about that choice
Hmm.
just
Well,
because it falls into the trope. But
well,
the
and
acting is good.
there's also an interesting discussion to be had by people who are not us,
Hmm.
um,
Yes,
about
yes.
how much of it is like that he falls into this problematic trope of the magical black person,
Hmm.
or how much of it is he's just the mentor figure and that's how the mentors are.
Yes. Yeah. So I think,
But again,
yeah,
not my place.
no, I agree. I think it's interesting to I will be checking on that TikToker I saw and their reactions to later of the season. But yeah, just it's something special to keep in mind. Oh, then we get the backstory of his mom telling him his
Oh my
name to
God,
Perseus.
right?
This is the first time I
Oh, that
cried.
was so
His
sad.
mom telling him why he named or why she named him Perseus, and like there's this whole thing about not all monsters are bad, and not or not all
Not
people who
all that
look.
looks heroic is heroic.
That's what it. Yeah, yes, yes, yes. But then when she talks about the hold fast Perseus, I was like, I'm crying already. We're 7 minutes into this TV show, and I'm crying.
It
I'm
was
crying.
so good. It
Mhm.
was just so like,
Can we talk about how great of a Sally Jackson she is?
oh my God, she's so perfect.
She's so
Like,
good. Let me pull up her
oh,
name. Beep 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 beep. Beep. Stars. Sorry, my internet is slowing down. Great.
it's
Where are
great
you,
because you
Sally?
can tell in every single instance how much she loves Percy, like just
Absolutely.
radiating through her. And
Hmm.
it's not in like a bad, flat way that like the movie was. It's
Yes.
legitimate, like, no,
Virginia Cole is her name, by the way.
Virginia Cole, like, good for you, ma'am. You're like
Hmm.
significantly more talented than I will ever be, and I appreciate you greatly.
Absolutely. Um, then we have the whole the bullying sandwich scene, like in the books. They're at the
Hmm.
movies. Oh wait. Percy does that thing where he has a flashback to the thing, and Mr. Bruner's like, Percy, did you hear me? And he goes, Mom. And I'm like, didn't we all have that moment in school where we accidentally called a teacher mom? We all have at least one traumatizing moment. And as a teacher, I got called mom quite a lot.
No, sorry, I'm having flashbacks to what I called my fifth grade teacher mom.
I also called my fifth grade teacher mom.
Anyway,
Anyways.
so Grover is being his adorable self, and he and Percy are sitting around the fountain talking to each other, like having a grand old time.
Hmm.
Um, and like
The
then
switching
Nancy,
sandwich supplies things just solidifies how close they actually are. You don't switch
yeah,
your cheese and your meat and sandwiches with just anyone. Like, good little touch. Whoever choreographed and blocked that.
it's like this show is so well made, and they are
Hmm.
so good at like doing this characterization quickly and with ease. Like Nancy Buffett, they started out with Percy having some like narration, and I was like, oh God, because
Voiceover.
voiceover, like bless, but no, don't do that. Um, and they cut it out, but they cut it out pretty quickly, which was like I was
Smart.
very relieved. Um,
Yes.
because even though I do miss like Percy's voice, like we couldn't have had that,
No, not for the whole time.
not for the whole time. And it meant that we got very quickly like what the interactions were with the characters without them having to just be like, Nancy Buffett is a bully.
Hmm.
No, she like makes fun of Percy, calling him like this. You see the earlier scene of they're sitting at lunch and like Grover has to hold him back, establishing their dynamic. It was great.
Percy pushes with like the force. It looks
Yeah,
like in the water,
I loved how that visualized because like he
hmm
goes to push her, but instead like
the water grabs her.
yeah, and I'm like,
Hmm
oh damn.
Yeah. But then Mrs. Dodds starts talking to him in like a creepy telepathic way. And it's Megan Mullally. And she, as Will and Grace fame, and she is just so devious, walking without moving her like her mouth. And then she just
Mhm.
slowly like CGI forms into the harpy, right?
That transition with the cloak going over her and unfurling
Mm-hmm.
her wings was
So
amazing.
cool. So cool. That's when I was like, okay, that's the moment when I was like, all right, I've cried once. They have actual lines from the book. The characters are the right age, and there's really good CGI. I'm in. Oh, and the
Hmm.
music. I was like, this is fine. I have no worries. I trust. Take the wheel, Mr. Riordan. Take it away. Like I was sold at that moment.
I really like I wrote down in my notes that the Dodd fight was kind of lame, but I really
It
like how
was
it
a little
is.
lame, but I
I
agree.
like how it is because,
Yes.
realistically, this is a 12-year-old boy who's never held a sword before in his
Mm-hmm.
life. Of course, he's not going to do a
Thinks
good
he's like
job
hallucinating, probably. He's like, what is happening?
because he's been
Like,
told that he's hallucinating his whole life
mm-hmm,
through this shit.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
it
it's
was slightly
a
lame,
lot.
but made sense.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also, we forgot to talk about Mr. Bruner. After Percy accidentally calls out Mom in the museum, Mr. Bruner gives him a pen and says, "This is
Oh
a
yeah.
great instrument."
And it's this really crappy like Bic pen. I hope Bic is
Yeah.
sponsoring them because like as someone who loves certain pens, I know a pen when I see one. Amanda can give me an eye because I used to get mad at her for stealing my pens. I don't know if that's what you're thinking, but it made it seem like that.
Yeah,
But
I was just thinking about how weird you were about pens.
I'm not
The
the
me
only one, dude.
no, me stealing your pens is very valid, and you should be upset about that.
But yeah, I am very specific about my pen use. I'm not a big fan of big pens, but you know what? If it's the what's the sword's name?
Riptide.
If it's if it's Riptide, then a big pen is worth it. Otherwise, I don't care about big pens. Said it here first. Controversial. So he obviously gets in trouble because after oh no, he like kills well not kills her. He poofs her. She turns into like ash
And then
on his
everyone's
sword
like
and
gathered around him
everyone
and they're like, "Hey, Percy, are you okay?"
and then
Oh my
and then
gosh.
the girl's like, he pushed me into the water. And then it cuts to him being in trouble in the like headmaster's office. And we have a cameo. And this is the second time I cried. So
Wait,
mhm. Did you not see the cameo?
it was no.
Amanda. So in the middle is the headmaster. To the right is Mr. Bruner. To the left of the headmaster is Rick Riordan, sitting very like very stern and sadly to the left, just silently.
I
But
didn't notice at
he's
all.
in it. He's in it. And it made me cry the second time. Was it leftover tears? Probably. But they came out of my eyes, so it counts. This scene, heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was so sad because what happens is the headmaster's like, Percy, like, you're not admitting to anything. I can't
Mhm.
help you. Like, you need to be honest about your actions. And then Percy's like, I didn't push her. I didn't see it. I
Mhm.
didn't like just being an honest, earnest little being.
And
And
then Grover betrays him. And
it
like you
was
can see the
so
pain in
sad.
Grover's eyes, and Percy is just torn apart. His partner in crime, the other person who is bullied constantly, is just sitting there and like
I
it's
know.
uh,
It was so sad.
so sad. Such good acting for these children. Then they're outside because Percy's waiting for his ride back home, and Mr. Brunner comes over to give him a little conversation. Percy's coat is disgusting. He has this weird red coat that looks like a weird, and by disgusting, that's really harsh words. I heard it when I said it. I just hate it vibe wise for Percy. If it was for me, I would actually like it. But for him, it does not fit. It's this like weird, almost Land's End weird coat. It's not a raincoat. It's not waterproof.
It's like
It's just like
it just feels like it feels like a coat that his mom got secondhand because they can't afford anything else. And it
it
shows
doesn't
how
look
out of
secondhand.
shape
No, it does
down.
not look secondhand. That's my issue. If it looked secondhand, I would have been fine with the weird design. the weird, like, the silhouette is wrong for a 12-year-old boy. No 12-year-old boy is going to want to wear that coat.
Yeah, but he probably did not have that much choice.
12-year-olds don't wear coats when they don't want to. If we know anything from the kids that we taught, it'll be snowing outside and they will not be wearing a coat and they'll be wearing Crocs.
I was just thinking as a kid, I wore coats when my parents told me to, slash when we were going somewhere that I knew I would eventually need a coat. And I know I'm not a typical 12-year-old child, but neither is Percy, so.
Fair. But I think I'm not okay. I think this is my issue is, let me re-say this. My issue with the coat is that the stylist chose a coat that does not fit Percy's personality. And with TV shows, especially the first episode of a TV show, it's very important what the people are wearing. Like the costuming of shows and movies is super important, right? It does not fit his vibe. I understand why later they wanted it to be a red coat. That's fine. My issue is not with the red coat. My issue is with the style and the silhouette with Percy's like personality. It does not fit. Like, yes, parents buy their kids clothes, but Sally Jackson loves her son. She can get a secondhand thing. Like you're saying this. Yes, we know they don't have a lot of money. They could get a secondhand like jacket of some sort that fits more of his personality vibe. Like if it was a puffer coat, also wouldn't have fit Percy's vibe.
It's also like a weird ass time of year.
Yes. It's spring, late summer, like late spring. He's wearing a sweater because they're filming this not in the winter. That's why. But he's wearing like an actual sweater under it. And I'm like, this is like the styling just it made me mad. And I thought maybe this is just a weird Janessa thing. And then I watched it again the second episode, or I watched it the second time around, and I was like, nope, still makes me mad. So of course it's a weird Janessa thing, but like I thought it was.
Hey, I feel like you're entitled to have weird Janessa things. Like I'm allowed to have weird Amanda things.
Absolutely, but I'm very upset about this coat.
I feel your feelings.
Anyways, Mr. Bruner
have no feelings about the coat.
Thank you for listening. Mr. Bruner has this nice heart to heart and tries to like be supportive in like a weird way, and Percy's just mad because like he's being like Mr. Bruner's like, I believe that you thought you saw that or that whatever,
yeah,
like gaslighty and just like lit.
And Percy has like this thing that comes out a little bit later with his mom, where he's a 12-year-old kid where he's at that age of like, I'm so sick of people telling me lies like in stories to try to make me feel better when I know that's not what's going on and blah blah blah. So like he feels like Mr. Brunner is just like doing that to like make him feel better and saying these things, and he's like, no, that's not true, like blah blah blah. Whatever.
Yeah, so he gets home, and before he even gets into his apartment, he has a super sweet moment with like I guess the super of the apartment. His name is Eddie. Eddie is like,
I love Eddie. I want more Eddie.
Is Eddie in the books?
No, not at all.
So this random character they give a name to. I was like, who is this person? Like, I want like he was so sweet. So he's having this argument with as we know, Gabe in the apartment about how he needs to eat more fruit because he keeps stopping the toilet up, is the like context of that argument. And so he comes out and Percy's like, sorry, and then Eddie says, I should be the one apologizing to you, you're the one going back in there. And I'm just like, one, you set up the crappy situation. Two, who is this angel Eddie?
I want more Eddie.
We need more Eddie. I mean, we know we're not going to be in this apartment for much of the season at all, but who is this Eddie?
Eddie is like a very relatable character. Because he sees a shitty situation, he's like, sorry, bro. Goes the other way. I get that. Also, again, going back to the brilliant writing, great way to establish that Gabe fucking sucks without us having to like spend 20 minutes in Percy's head about it.
Yes. So Percy goes in
or having him slap his mom's butt. Like,
yeah. Okay, so he goes in and immediately we see Gabe. He's on the recliner. He's like a slob and he's yelling and he's automatically arguing with Percy about stuff. And honestly, I didn't find Gabe that bad. Like, he's definitely not a good guy. I would not want my mom to date him, but he doesn't seem as abusive. in this. He just seems like he just doesn't have his shit together and he's had a hard life and he's falling in a pit of despair emotionally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I landed with that. I feel like he wasn't, and again, we'll see if they expand on it or what,
Yeah.
but he doesn't feel bad enough.
Yes. At least not yet. And I thought maybe the reason could be of like it gives it a reason why Sally stays with him besides what we eventually find out why. You know what I mean? Because they don't
Hmm.
talk about that in the beginning. I don't think they talk about that in Filmation until the end of the book, right?
They talk about it pretty quickly in the
Okay.
book.
Okay. So I don't know because they didn't talk about it in this episode or the next one. So I don't know. It's just interesting. But we see
But
Percy
it's
like,
also like it's one of those details that I'm sure will either come out later or it won't.
yeah,
And it's not like book ending if they never talk about it, you know?
yeah. It's not. It's just it's like, oh, this is like the first big difference we have. I feel like
Yeah.
I felt. And it like wasn't really a huge difference. It's just that I'm like, oh, I don't despise Gabe. I don't want to be around him. And I don't want Percy
Yeah.
to be around him, but like I
But
can
there's
probably
not that
name other people
immediately,
worse than him
yeah,
that I know.
there's not like an immediate sense of threat, like, because,
Yeah.
again, one of the opening lines with Percy talking about him is he automatically asks me for cash every time because if I don't give it to him, he'll like beat my lights out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So Percy ends up keeps walking after the argument with
and his
Gabe and
mom's
his
out
mom's
on the phone.
outside in the rain and Olivia Rodrigo's playing.
She's just sitting out there vibing in the rain, and I
She's
was like, oh,
crying in the
so
rain
sad.
because she knows something that we don't know. She's immediately so sad. And like, we're like, why is she sad? Because we don't like, we do know he ends up being a half-blood because that's the first line, but we don't understand what the dramatics of him getting kicked out of school. Like, we don't know what's about to happen. And that emotion is so strong. She's wearing the green coat that matches Percy's. And here we have the reason why Percy wears that coat. It's because it's a mother son matching coat. It looks great on her. I would wear that jacket. I just don't think that Percy should be wearing that style jacket. He's too old and it doesn't fit his
Okay.
style. I will move on past jacket gate.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm keeping an eye on you, stylist. You on the show that I've already filmed and wrapped, and don't listen to this podcast. I'm keeping an eye on you, so watch out.
Yeah. Because Janessa is going to use her immense power and influence to bully you into making better costumes for season 2.
Are you insinuating that I'm not the queen of the universe? Anyways, this is where I wrote "We stand Sally"
We
because
absolutely
we
stand
stand
Sally.
Sally, and then I wrote "Coat matches Percy's lol" next to that.
Well, and then it's so funny because then they like have the Montauk vacation that they were talking about.
Hmm.
Because the thing that really solidifies of, oh, this is not the same Gabe is,
Hmm.
in the book, she's like, oh, I'll make you a bean dip. We're not gonna go anywhere. But here she's like, well, I'm gonna go and I'll bring some sandwiches back when we come back. And,
To watch the game, but if you don't let us go,
but if you like, but I can't do that if you don't let us go. And like, she basically is like,
she's like, if you don't let us go, then I'm gonna go get sandwiches and eat them and watch the game without you.
yeah, and
And
he's
he,
like, but
but
I don't like watching the game alone.
yeah,
And I'm
and
like,
also it's the Knicks, and you know who likes the Knicks?
no.
Oh, I thought you would know. It's another character in the series, and I now not forget. It's I think it might be Nico's favorite.
Really?
It's like another character later in the series that loves the
Well,
Knicks, and
they
I
say D'Angelo, which is,
that's in reference again, the Angelo's Deli or something like that. But yeah, no, I forget which character loves the Knicks later in the series.
I don't think
Um,
it's Nico. That would be like, that
not
feels very
Nico.
off brand.
Someone does. Someone loves the Knicks because I also
Is
saw
it
like a bunch
Will?
of TikToks of them like the Knicks and Percy Jackson. Ah, I don't know.
And then the weirdest part for me was the whole like, he's like, well, you better get heart peppers. And she's like, I didn't hear you say please. And I'm like, oh, okay. Um,
Yeah, there's like a power, not balance, but like it's not as unbalanced as in the
yeah.
book. Hmm.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean,
It's like a toxic relationship, but not like the most.
It's like, I don't know. It just feels weird. It's definitely not the same dynamic, and it's kind of like,
It's like, why?
it was kind of like a big deal when Percy realized that Gabe's like abusive towards his mom. And
Yeah. It's
it's not
like,
that he can't, but it's also like, this would be a
mhm.
very strange interaction with the added context.
It seems like it's a lowercase t toxic relationship that like a lot of people have in their life, and not a capital T toxic relationship where it's abuse. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is weird. What are y'all doing? But like, we'll trust because again, like I said, after the Mrs. Dodson situation, I'm sold on the show.
Well, it's also like I saw somebody else talking about this earlier where they're like, I'm sorry, you wanted there to be like a overtly abusive relationship on this TV show, and I'm like, no,
I mean,
but
no, but if he's gonna disappear,
yeah,
like he doesn't, like I want that to be justified.
yeah.
You know, I don't want to someone who has redeeming qualities and like an ability to like have a second chance fully
Hmm.
to disappear. Quote. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I
That's what
don't
I was
want
thinking.
somebody who just sits and gambles their life away, like, then
Yeah,
die.
exactly. Like a lot of people are addicted to gambling.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they aren't redeemable. Like that's where in my head. But we'll find out. We'll find out. And again, listeners, if you want to hear our thoughts on the end of the series, you gotta tell me. We have the first dream scene.
Yes, with the voice.
The voice.
Oh my
He's
God.
he's on the beach. It's the same as the opening scene. It's like blurry, creepy beach, storm, and then he hears this creepy voice and he looks out over the ocean and there's this like hooded figure with a light. And it looked kind of like Grim Reaper-esque,
Yes,
which I was
that's what
like,
I was thinking.
why is it Grim Reaper-esque? Because like we in the books know what the dreams are coming from.
But Kronos does have a scythe.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's not like, remember in my like rewrite of the movie where I was like, make Kronos, like, if you need a devil, make him the devil.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's like real precedents for that?
fair enough. Um, yeah, the dream scene is so good, and he gets jolted awake, and he's in the car.
And they have this nice little cabin. His mom like starts talking to him and she like is trying to tell him about stuff. I also really like that they kind of spin the like ADHD. I like that they give more of a focus to the inattentive type where it's like you're daydreaming and spacing out and doing that. Just a nice touch,
I didn't
you
pick up
know?
on that part
I did.
of the beginning of this so far. I picked up on it. I mean, like we do see the dyslexia stuff on his paper at the Met, but we don't
Hmm.
really like. It's not as compared to the movie, especially. It's not as in your face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like I
Well,
think serves a good purpose.
yeah, well, they don't even say like explicitly
Not in
the
episode one.
ADHD and like dyslexia thing until episode 2.
Yeah, which I think is smart. Um, But yeah, the scene with his mom in the cabin, she such good acting. There's my notes. Um, yeah, the Percy, your dad is a god conversation is so much more emotional like I felt it way more in
Hmm.
this version than in the books even. And the books it
Yeah,
was
well,
like
because in
her
the
like dancing around the subject. It felt like we're here. She's like, I need you to know this is like you like she's at a 10 emotionally. Like she's like, I need this to give him this information. He's not paying attention, he's not understanding, and this is like life or death, and you feel that emotion.
well, and in Sally's defense in the book, they were like already they were already getting chased by the Minotaur.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And
yeah.
here she like is like, all right, in the morning, Grover's gonna come and he's gonna go to Camp Half Blood. This has been set up. This is all we can do. This is my last chance to like make sure that he knows
Mm-hmm.
before it all gets broken in his face.
Yeah, the
But
stakes are way higher emotionally, which I
yeah.
like.
And then again, my favorite line that I had to highlight is she's like, yeah, he was a god. And then Percy's like Jesus. And I was like, oh, okay, poor
So
Percy.
I
And
don't
then
like the part where she's like, I met this man and he wasn't like any man I met before, which like yes, we get it, he's a Greek god, but like also don't be simping over men, Sally. You're better than any man, Sally. I was like, all right, writers, we get it.
I mean, I kind of get it. Like, if this, I feel like every character is
It
allowed to have flaws, and
no, it
simping
makes
over people
sense.
who don't have to, you
It
know?
makes sense. It's just that I was like, Sally, don't simp over Greek gods. Sally, Sally. It was just being silly in my head. But then
Oh, and
Grover
then,
shows up.
well, and then poor Percy. Poor, like, Percy thinks that she's doing the same thing that Bruner was doing earlier, where she's just telling him a story to make him feel better. And he
Hmm.
like starts lashing out about like, I'm 12, you can't keep like just telling me stories and telling me it's gonna be okay because it's not, and blah blah blah. I'm a screw up, I'm a mess up. And then that's when Grover knocks at the door.
Hmm. He's
God.
like, Miss Jackson, Miss Jackson. He's like trying to be so polite, but is so panicked.
I was like, oh, okay. Th- I had this thought in the car the other day, where I was like, it's kind of funny. I don't feel like there is any character in the books, in like the Percy Jackson books, that I like really, really, really resonated with, where I was like, that's me. I'm that character. In
Hmm.
this movie, I'm like, oh God, a 12-year-old me would had this now, Grover. The way he's so anxious and is just trying not to be constantly and just being like, "Oh, hey, also like we're kind of in danger, so can we go?" And I don't want to be rude, but I just love it. I love
If
him
I
so
was
much.
a character in the Percy Jackson series, who would I be? From your
You?
opinion of me, yeah. Who would do you think I would be? Not who I resonated with as a kid,
Who
but
would you
who,
be?
like, who am I most like, like, who am I most coded like? Which one? Which character?
See, that's a hard question because I feel like Annabeth is a very solid answer, but Annabeth in the books is so much more emotional in a way that you're not openly.
Thank you.
Um, as we've established, you've cried 3 times into this episode, and I didn't cry once.
I've only cried twice so far.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Rude.
So, if we're talking in the books, is it weird to say Rachel?
Is it weird if I forget who Rachel is?
Rachel's like the girl who becomes the Oracle at the end. She's really artsy. She and Percy kind of vibe. She can see through the mist. She's pretty blunt.
Oh yeah. That's not weird, considering I don't remember her as I have not read the full series in years, minus the first
Wild.
book.
I love Rachel. I always liked her a lot.
Nice. Anyways, we get the great line when Grover's talking to Sally and Percy yells, "Why is there half a goat in your pants?" It's just like, great. That's it. Cut and paste or cut and done. There's the TikTok.
Well, I mean, technically, that's not how the line goes in the book.
I don't remember how the book goes, but I liked the delivery in the show because I forgot this is from the book.
I really like. I think like, and I kind of want to talk a little bit more about it in the second episode, but I really do appreciate Walker's interpretation of Percy in this
Me
first
too.
episode,
Me too.
even though it's not quite what I had in my head for him.
Yeah, he is. We can talk about it at the end of the when we finish the episode, first episode, and then we can
Hmm.
talk about it. So they get in the car. They gotta go. Percy still doesn't fully understand what's happening because Grover and Sally keep talking to each other. And they're like talking in the car, trying to catch up. And we do, and at one point they're arguing because um, Grover exposes that he had to get Percy kicked out, otherwise he probably would have gotten killed by the
Hmm.
monsters. They would have found him easily there. And Percy and him are yelling, and then Sally goes like, "Boys, boys, boys," or something like that. And then Grover goes, "Actually, I'm 24."
Yeah, that's very funny.
Just very casually. I'm like, no, canonically, we got an age. That's good. Good to know.
So then they're looking at the card, and then Grover's like, "That's why I introduced you to the Mythomania cards because I wanted you to be prepared." And I was like, "Oh, damn, that's like really clever."
Yeah, it's just so good. And then we have the Minotaurs show up.
It was so
It's
scary.
so good. And then Percy's like, why is the Minotaur wearing underwear? Which, like, why was the Minotaur wearing underwear?
I honestly, I think it's just because they didn't want to have him not wearing underwear.
Okay, but here's the thing. So the flashback with the Perseus statue, they have full frontal nudity there because it's a real statue. And I get it, it's art and like kids are exposed to should be exposed to art. I get that. Especially ancient art, like historical, etc., etc.
Yeah, but this also is different because this thing would have been moving around. And like
I
personally,
I also did not want to see the bits of the bull man, but I'm just like, why the underpants and why pointing it out? Like, just give him jorts, and no one will be like, no one will be like, oh yeah, the Hulk wears jorts. Why want this
well,
Minotaur?
it's because it's like the same thing as like, it's the same way that it looked on the card. That's probably all the only reason they pointed it out. Because it's
Mm.
something that like Percy would notice.
They did have it on the poster or card or whatever it was,
Yeah, exactly.
but again, it could have been jorts.
No, no,
Give the Minotaur jorts. This
no,
is my new campaign.
no, no,
We're
absolutely
gone.
not.
Jacket Gate is over, and we're on to Minotaur jorts. Yeah, so the Minotaur's chasing them in its underwear, not at just jorts. And there's the whole like the car scene is good. It's not too long, it's not too complicated.
Well,
I
and the
like
other
it.
thing that's very different is they're not keeping him out of the loop. They're actually explaining shit to him.
Well, to us, the audience.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
so they end up rolling the car, and the Minotaur gets spun off somewhere else because of a semi truck going through. And
Oh, because Sally continues to be an absolute badass and
hell
like
yeah, Sally Jackson.
maneuvers the bull into getting hit by the semi truck.
Yes. They
It's
roll the
great.
car, they get out. Grover's a little bit hurt, but the rest of them are okay because Grover's limping a bit. And Grover's like, oh, there's the top of the hill, and you see the tree at the top of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first moment we have a reference to the tree and what that tree means.
It's like it is the first shot of camp
Ah,
is gorgeous. Even just like as it peeks over the hill is
so
like,
good. And
you
then
know,
here we have the third time I cried in this episode. So Grover's like, we gotta go. Sally's like, you guys go. I will take your red jacket. That jacket gates back. I'm sorry. The red stupid jacket. I understand why it's red. I'm fine with the color. But thank God that jacket's gone forever. Rip that jacket. Just kidding. Um, Sally's like, Grover, you take him. I can't go. And then Percy's like, wait, what do you mean you can't go? And then Grover's
hmm
like, she's human. She can't cross the boundary. And Percy is, of course, distraught at this. They end up starting to go.
Well, and
Right,
poor
but right before
Percy,
they
like
do, Sally
honestly,
has this.
sorry, poor Sally. Like Grover keeps saying things like when they're still at that cabin in Montauk and being
Mhm,
like, "Oh wait, you didn't tell him that. Oh wait, you didn't tell him that." And
mhm,
Sally's like, "I was supposed to have till morning," and she was probably going to explain to him all this stuff about why he
mhm.
has to go to camp. And if she had had time, because Sally is amazing, she probably could have talked him into being okay. But there's no time.
There's no time because being a half blood is hard. And so her goodbye to Percy, she like takes his head in her hands and like she says, you are not broken, you are singular, you are my son, you like etc. And then this is why I'm bawling my eyes out. So sorry. And then she goes, hold fast. I love you. And then like lets him go. He's like starting to hobble away, helping Grover. She goes and she tries to distract the bull with the coat, a la like matadors, and it does not really work. The Minotaur grabs her in his hand, and we have this really
Mhm.
cool like silhouette of the light of the car behind them, and then the Minotaur and Sally are like silhouetted. It's a really cool like visual. And then the Minotaur's about to like squeeze her, and Percy sees this, runs towards her, and then we see Sally poof into gold dust. And Percy immediately is mad. He's like, you killed my mom, I'm gonna
The
kill you.
the acting on his face
Ah, so good.
alone, it was like amazing.
So good. Yes. And this is where we get the full details of the stupid Bic pen from earlier. it starts vibrating in his pocket. He takes it out. He takes off the cap, and it transforms into Riptide, this golden sword. And he runs at the bull and like has this kind of failing battle at it, but ends up cutting part of the horn off, finds his way to get onto the back of the Minotaur, rips off the rest of the horn, and stabs it with its own horn, causing it to turn into dust. And then he faints.
It was very cool.
It was so cool. Um, and then
And then like Bruner
he
comes in
comes
and
like
starts
he
talking.
comes to when we see like silhouettes of people and we hear Bruner being like, give him space, and we like see him as a centaur, which honestly I don't like that reveal.
I didn't either.
I
Not at
thought it
all.
could have been cooler. It's like them if they had only released one episode and you had to wait a whole week and you did not read this book, that it'd be cool. But we've read the book and we had to wait 0 minutes to start episode 2. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think
Well,
it
and
was
it's
a
kind
little
of
bit
like,
anticlimactic. It's like
well, and I don't like how Chiron looks in this.
the
He just,
centaur.
yeah, they kind of like they almost give him like too much height. And I know horses are like tall or whatever, but he's like double Percy's height, and it's really kind of unsettling for me.
Okay. I didn't mind that. Thought it was fine. But that's how the first episode ends. And then the ending credit scene to the show is fucking gorgeous. And it has
Right?
Easter eggs for what happens later. Like and all the things that happen in book 5 are in the East are like in this. It is
It is
beautiful.
gorgeous, and it's like so well done, and I just love the depiction of the gods in there
Mm-hmm.
and like all of their symbols, and the music that plays over it is gorgeous. The animation is pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
It is great. It's a great first episode. I think
It is.
literally the only issue is that centaur at the very end.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's like barely an issue.
I feel like, and I think this is going to be a reoccurring issue with me on this series. We'll see like how it plays out, and we can talk more about this at the end. I feel like it feels like 3 minutes too long every time. Um, and I
Hmm.
don't know, in this particular episode, I don't know where I would cut, but I just feel like the ending, it would have been fine to just have it cut out after Percy fought the Minotaur, right?
Yes.
But then they added in like another minute, and I was like, okay, that's
Or
weird.
if they ended it like he drops and then they end it with like him hearing things, like maybe hearing his mom's voice echoey and like
Mhm.
maybe some like blurry people and that's it. That's so we know that he's alive, but like or like something
Yeah,
or maybe hearing something ominous, like that would have been better, I thought.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Percy in this, I don't know. I think like to try to get episode 1 of the show wrapped up, I think Percy, the actor who plays Percy, does a fantastic job. I agree with you. It's not the same Percy I have in the beginning of the book, but I can see the room for him to grow into that Percy. And like, I don't want him to be identically to him in the book. I want him to be similar, right?
Mhm.
Like, to my head, I was like the way eyebrows never look exactly the same. They look very similar, but not the same on your face. That's what I want for the Percy.
Wait, like on my face?
No, like everyone's face, like
Oh,
the
okay.
royal you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I
yeah.
was like confused. I was like, wait, is this a new thing I'm gonna need to be stressed about?
No, no, I was just talking
I
about.
like, okay, let me be clear. What I'm about to say next, I don't mean in any like pejorative kind of way because I think Walker is a fantastic actor. Um, I wasn't really sold on him as Percy in this first episode. He just felt too serious and not sassy enough. Um, but part of that's just a function of like what he's going through in this episode
Hmm.
more than anything else.
There's not really much room for him to be sassy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or like, you know how you had that phrase about him last couple episodes where he's like he's no thoughts, just vibes.
Hmm.
There is not a single moment where I saw Walker on screen where that I knew that that boy wasn't thinking
Yeah.
thus far. And like
In
that's
episode
fine
1, yeah.
in
In episode
episode
1, yeah,
one,
yeah. I
100%.
get that. Yeah. Well, episode
And
one
that's
is like an
not
intense episode.
and it's not like it's again, it's not bad. It's just like I was kind of like, I kind of want my Percy. Where's my
I th-
Percy?
I think the like flashback of him as a kid shows a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as much as we get because the rest of the time it's like, you're in
Drama,
trouble.
drama,
There's a
drama.
monster. Keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a little
Your
bit
mom
sassy
is trying
towards
to
gay,
take.
but not quite, you know?
Yeah, not nearly as much as he like
Yeah.
is. And again, it might just be a feature of not being in Percy's head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Episode 2, I became a supreme lord of the bathroom,
I think they should have called this one the Capture the Flag title.
which is what? My book's in a different room.
We capture a flag. Never mind, that was a better title.
All right. So,
Yeah.
episode 2, I became a supreme lord of the bathroom. This episode is so fun.
Oh my gosh, yes.
This episode is so fun. It starts, Percy wakes up and he sees a girl in braids, and he's like, "What?" And she says, "You drool in your sleep." And then he blacks back out.
So the second, and we later find out that this is Annabeth.
Yes.
Her name's like Leah
Leah.
Jeffries. The second she said that line, I was like, oh, okay, this is Annabeth. Like
Yes.
flat
Yes.
out, this is Annabeth.
Yes.
Top to bottom. And it's not that I was worried because every still I've seen of her has been like really good.
Yes.
But God, the second she said that, I was like, all right,
We in it.
hi Annabeth. I'm so glad to meet you. I'm so
Yep.
excited.
Yep.
Especially after last time.
And then so Percy blacks back out after that. Then he wakes up and Grover's sitting right there, and he's like, "Where am I?" He's like, "You're in the infirmary or hospital, whatever." And he gets up. Percy has no pants on. He puts on jeans. Who took off this boy's jeans?
Probably like
No. Listen to this. Listen to this. When you go to the hospital and you have to get like IVs or you're bleeding, they tear your clothes, but they give you hospital gowns or scrubs. He has none of that. I would be fine if he had some sort of gown of some sort on. He's wearing the same shirt and no pants. He puts pants on. Who took this boy's pants off?
I don't know, and I didn't notice.
It really freaks me out.
I understand.
Yes, that's fine. Like, whatever, it's a TV show. I'll get past it, but like,
But also, you seem to have a good number of concerns about the costuming.
Episode 1, never forget Jacket Gate. Episode 2, they took off Percy's pants. Who took them off?
Gate.
Who took them off? He wakes up, he's like, Grover's trying to like calm him down, but immediately Percy's like, "No, I need to find my dad. What the fuck? My mom just died. I watched my mom die. I found out my dad's a god and he's doing nothing. No. And he like storms off to go find his dad. And I'm like, hell yeah. Here's Percy. Hothead Percy.
Okay, so Ashley, at this point, I wrote, I'm still not sold on this Percy. He feels too serious. And then literally right in time. Literally right in time, we get the scene with Dionysus. Mr. D like says his little spiel of like Peter Johnson. He's like, "You've introduced yourself," and then Percy pops up with, "But did you hear me introduce myself?" And I was like, "Oh, there's Percy. Here we go."
Jason Mantutska as Mr. D. Excellent casting.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. He can play a fucking idiot and then switch to like, I can kill you if you want in a second. If you've seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you know what I mean. His character in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, hilariously unhinged. Very much similar vibes to Mr. D.
And then Mr. D like literally tries to trick and then poor Percy. This is the part like literally a second later, Percy like starts being really nice and polite and being like, "Can you please help me find my dad?" And I'm like, Percy would never, never in his entire life like beg for help from an authority figure.
Okay, but that is true. Okay, but that sunroom that Mr. D is sitting in with his card table, I want that stained glass sunroom.
Oh my god, right?
That.
Like, say whatever you want about the costuming, but the set design is
amazing.
It's gorgeous. Like,
also, the costuming is good for everyone else but Percy, in my opinion.
I mean, they might have just been trying to make like Walker comfortable.
Yeah, fair. With his pants off.
Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the damn jacket.
I think Walker is a dedicated enough person that he would wear whatever he thought Percy's vibe is. And if he had any say in that jacket, him and I have to have words. But I'm assuming he's a child actor and he probably doesn't have that much say in the acting clothes, minus that he feels comfortable in it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. You know what I mean? Anyways, we're
Mm-hmm.
thinking again. Jack and Kate. Never forget. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, poor Percy in this version, I think more so definitely in the book, kind of like what you're saying, he's so used to bullying and rejection that all this whole situation with Mr. D, like even he is sassy with Mr. D a little bit, but then once like Chiron comes up, he's like, oh, I just got again. Damn. But it's like so used to it. And I'm like, poor little bean.
Sad. And like
Buddy.
Dionysus is such a troll, and it's kind of a
Yes.
fun way to sort of like set up that antagonism like
Mm-hmm.
very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also it's a very clever way to introduce the little plot point of demigods can do things that gods are forbidden to do. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's so good. And for those of you
Yes.
who haven't seen it yet, first of all, go watch it. But to explain a little bit more, what Dionysus does is like Percy's like, where's my dad? And like Dionysus is like, actually, I'm your dad. Can you go get me a bottle of wine and we can
Son.
talk? And I'm like,
Son.
damn. I mean, this is very in character for Dionysus, but
It
it's also
is.
so cruel.
You know who would fall for that shit?
Percy.
Amanda.
Me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, 1,000%.
You know who wouldn't?
You.
Yes. It's a strange man. I'm not gonna get him a line. Even
I
if he
would
is
be
a
like,
god.
am I allowed to go in there? Are you sure?
Exactly is what you would say. I'd be like, I wouldn't talk to this man. But anyways, um, so Chiron shows up. He's a centaur. Percy's like, you know that the whole thing, half your body is a horse. Like he's like a little bit sassy in his like reaction to Mr. Bruner
Yeah.
being a like
Yeah,
and that's
this
good.
is what like in the first episode, like you said, I think it really was just that there was so much trauma things
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Walker really sells me on his version of Percy here, but
Mm-hmm.
he has just enough sass and like just enough like things
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, okay, you're fine. We
Yeah.
love
And then Chiron starts walking him through the camp, and we see camp.
it. The cat.
They're so good.
Oh, they're so pretty. They're exactly how I pictured them in my head. And like the Hermes cabin is just so like nondescript and it's so crowded. I was just so happy to see the cabin.
They're so good. Okay, I do have one issue with Camp Half Blood here on this
Yes.
TV show. So this is exactly how I pictured it. I grew up in a temperate rainforest on the west coast of the North America.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I grew up in the forests that look exactly like that.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, doesn't this camp, this valley that's magical, which I get, like there's wiggle room because it's magic. Isn't it in New York State, like a within a day's drive from New York City?
On Long
So
Island?
isn't this not the same kind of forest? And I'm dating a biologist. I know those trees are not East Coast trees because he always talks about the trees when we're driving around the East Coast. And I looked it up, and of course, like almost everything, it's shot in Vancouver, BC, which
Yeah.
makes sense. Texas, whatever. It's a beautiful area. I love Vancouver, honestly. One of my favorite places in Canada. But it's weird
I
to
mean,
sell that it's New York.
so as someone who lived on the East Coast slash lives on the East Coast
Mhm,
slash went to camp on the East Coast, and
mhm.
granted, I didn't go to outdoor camp because I was an indoor kid.
I also went to outdoor camp on the East Coast outside of Boston. So I've been to camps that are supposed to be similarly climate wise to this before.
Yeah.
They
Well,
don't look
I
like
was
it.
just gonna say I didn't notice because really now thinking about it, the only thing that's different is they needed to be more grass and like
Mm-hmm.
the trees
Mm-hmm.
because
The
they're like
trees.
more pine trees and it's like, we have deciduous trees.
See, and like that might not seem like a big issue, but again, I grew up in a literal rainforest, the largest temperate rainforest in North America. So I know my tree shit.
Well,
And
but you
those
can
are different
also like
trees.
you can
But
look at
it's
it and you
magical, so
can
there's wiggle room and like that's fine. Like I'm not like super mad
but
about
you
it,
can
but I'm
look at the
like,
trees of somewhere and feel the temperature, you know?
Yes, and that seems colder than what it
Exactly. That's
is.
what I was saying.
Ah, gotcha,
I was
gotcha.
agreeing with you.
Okay. That doesn't happen often, so I always
I
have to be on my
know.
guard. Anyways, that aside, Camp Half-Blood in the show fucking slaps. It's so good. I agree wholeheartedly with how good it is, minus my tree snobbery.
Well, and I love like I mean it comes up a little bit later, but I also love how casually like there's like a woman in a wheelchair just like doing archery, and I'm like, damn, okay, like we appreciate it. Also, how the hell does she navigate around camp when it's all dirt?
Magic.
Fair.
You know, one of the Hephaestus kids have like jerry rigged some way to make it ADA accessible.
We
You
love
know, the
that,
Hephaestus kids
honestly.
are on that. You absolutely
You
know
are
that.
absolutely right. I loved how many like campers there were because it felt like just the right amount.
Yes. So he gets introduced to the camp, to the house the cabin that he'll be staying at, the house
The
that he'll be
Hermes
staying at.
cabin because it's the
The
House of Travelers.
Exactly. And he has like a little mattress on the floor with all of his
It's a
stuff, and
sleeping bag.
he pulls out his
It's
blue
galaxies.
gummies from his mom. It's so sweet. And then a bunch of kids come over, and immediately he's on the defense because again, this Percy is so used to bullying and rejection. He's like,
Mhm.
he's like, and like when Chiron introduces him, he's like, "No, let me do it," because he's been a new kid at so many schools. Like this poor kid is so already so traumatized.
Yeah, poor baby.
He doesn't even
Oh,
know the half of it.
he doesn't even know like a half of the crap that's gonna happen to him.
I know.
This is just relatable social trauma. So he immediately like puts up this like big tough guy act, and then like the three guys are like, "No, cool, it's
And
all
they're
right."
much older too. Like they're obviously like 17 years old.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
like, "No, don't worry, dude, it's okay." And then Luke introduces himself.
Luke, I love this Luke already.
Uh-huh.
He
hmm
is just
hmm
enough charisma, and he's the first person to often offer him sympathy and be like, "Yeah, dude, it really sucks. The gods suck. Like it doesn't make sense. It's unfair." And Percy's like, "Fine, a fucking lead. Someone agrees with me. Someone understands." And I'm like,
hmm
"Chef's
hmm
kiss. Good job on this Luke. Woohoo!"
And
Um,
like this version of Luke, he has the very nice subtle scar. He's
mhm.
like really handsome.
I'm predicting now by the end of season two, because Luke's a lot more involved in season two. By the end of season two, there's going to be so many edits on TikTok of this actor.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I'm not saying my opinion on said sort of act like editing cuts because
Mm.
whatever, internet culture. But they're gonna happen. You know
This
it,
is
right? Luke is great in here.
oh,
So
he's so
great.
perfect.
Then we have this whole cut scene where Grover starts sneaking away.
Well, actually, it's a fun, first of all, Grover like sneaks away to like Council of Elders and like talks to them. We don't actually
Mhm.
get to see the Council of Elders, which is too bad because I think
We
we
see part of it. Like there's this cool like tree lady
tree
that
lady.
comes out and like she's like all in bark. Like PETA in the Hunger Games wished he looked like that tree.
hmm
Like
Yeah.
I but like it
I
was
was
really
like,
cool, but like
I
also
like,
it was weird. I was like,
yeah.
where's Grover going? There's no explanation until like later. But like,
Well, after this, they're like, oh, I spoke to the Council of Elders. And I'm like, Grover, do you have a mom? Like, I thought you were parentless. But this tree lady is like talking to him like he's like she's his mom. And I'm like,
I
okay.
assumed that she was like a dryad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like it was weird.
And, and then after, like, he goes and talks to Mr. D and Chiron and being like, yo, they said that she may not be dead. And
And
then,
they're adults that are obviously like, this kid just ruins Santa for everyone, and he needs to shut the fuck up right now because we have this whole thing going and he's gonna ruin it. That's like the vibe.
oh my God, if somebody tells this poor impulsive kid that, he's gonna immediately run off and get himself killed. So do not
Yes.
say anything to him. Both Chiron and Mr. D were like, no, we can't tell him that because he's gonna run off and do something stupid. And
hmm
Grover's like, no, you can't not tell him because his mom's alive and he's sad. And then Dionysus says the most accurate thing about the first half of this book, which is no one is gonna tell him anything. And I'm like,
True.
damn.
True. The next day, Percy wakes up. He has his Camp Half-Blood shirt, the orange, bright orange neon shirt with the Pegasus in the middle.
Hmm.
So good.
But before that, he has a dream. He
Oh
has another one
yes.
of those dreams.
Yes, I have
And
that in my
he's
notes. I
like, you're
skipped it.
feeling sad.
He's in
You're
the
feeling,
sand.
he's
He's
in
in the
the,
sand.
you're feeling sad. You're feeling betrayed. You feel
Same creepy guy.
out. It's like, oh,
And
I
then
love this voice.
the ground starts to like break and he almost falls into a pit.
Yes. And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Ah. Yes. So the next day, he has his cool Camp Half-Blood orange t-shirt with the Pegasus on it, and Luke starts kind of showing him around. And Luke brings up the ADHD and dyslexia stuff,
Yeah.
talking about like, yeah, we all got that here. But what's really cool about being a half-blood is the glory. And he goes on this whole thing about the glory. And Percy has this really cute like little kid thing. He go mean like, you mean glory can get people to like me and stop picking on me? Then I'm gonna get it. And I'm like, buddy.
So sad. And I
Yeah.
think it was such a great way to like give Percy motivation to actually like buy into all this crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, if I get this glory and I train really hard, my dad's gonna notice me and then he's gonna like pay attention to my to me and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it was really smart.
Yep.
Um,
And then when he literally runs into Clarice, and I wrote down Clarice, hell yeah.
oh,
I love this Clarice. She is such like immediately you understand this girl. She is pissed off at the world. She wants to be in charge, and she's gonna tell you how she's gonna run the world. And you're like, yes, I will follow you, because otherwise you're gonna punch me
mhm. It's just
respectfully.
the pure feminine rage out of Clarice
Yes.
is
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, she is how the embodiment of Clarice here is how I feel when I listen to Bjork music.
See, I don't have any comparison for that. I think the thing that is interesting in this choice is like she felt like to me, because you know the like book Clarice in the book is so much more of like a tough like punch you in the face Ron Hilda kind of lady, and this
Hmm.
Clarice felt more like a traditional mean girl bully just in the way that she held herself.
I didn't get that vibe. I think she does not like the Clarice in the books. I agree. She's not like towering over them, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think she's like traditional mean girl. I think she's just straight up because mean girls are like, in my eye, like there's like an element of passive aggressiveness,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
and
they hit
she's
you.
not.
She's not. She's aggressive,
She's just
aggressive
aggressive, aggressive.
because
Yeah,
she's
no,
the daughter of
definitely.
Aries, right? So I think
I
she's
guess
just
what I was
just
getting at
straight
is
up mean.
she's just also not as like she's just not as overtly like masculine or feminine. She's just very like Clarice, which is amazing, and I appreciate that because honestly, Rick
Hmm.
Riordan writing women in 2005, maybe not his best work.
No, he's improved over the years. Um, yeah, then they go to the archer scene, which we briefly talked about how there's that lady in the wheelchair who does the archery
Hmm.
casually. As someone who at camp did archery, I'm not like an expert. The person in the wheelchair and the rest of the like and Percy and Luke for that matter, they did not hold the bow and arrow correctly.
Yeah.
They're which is like not bad if they were in the background, wouldn't have cared. If they're getting focused on Percy, it makes sense. He's gonna do it badly. That makes sense. But the person in the chair, like that's just like her arm was a little bit off, and I feel like they could have spent a couple more minutes just teaching her how to do that really fast, you know, or just not have
Hmm.
filmed that part of her arm, and you would have never known.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
And
know
that
enough.
part, as someone who wished she was Legolas growing up when she was 12, I paid attention to that shit because I was that nerd.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't
Anyways,
notice, but I was a little sad because they have this kind of like failure montage for Percy of him trying out all these different things.
I loved it.
I did too. I was a little sad they didn't have him do like sword fighting training like he does with Luke, because in the
Yeah.
book, because that
Yeah.
would have been like a very easy 5 minutes, like not even 5 minutes,
Hmm.
just a couple minutes of scene and help explain why he doesn't immediately get pulverized and capture the flag later.
Yeah.
But they skip over it, and instead we get the great line, "Is there a Greek god of disappointment?"
Oh, that was so good. And then the random friend next to Luke being like, yes, it's this, but it's
I
more of da 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 da. And I was like, nice.
I can't I need to know who this guy is because like I
Do we know any of Luke's friends in the books?
no, we don't. We don't know any of Luke's friends. I don't know like if he has a name.
He's a
Um,
Hermes slash unclaimed kid.
unclaimed kid. And it's like Could it be one of the Soul Brothers? Could be. Could it be somebody who joins Luke later when he goes a little crazy? Could be.
Spoilers for season 2 that doesn't
Okay,
exist. I'm joking. Oh, this is so
so sad. He takes the jelly beans that his mom gave him, and he
because
burns
Luke tells them
them.
that you have to burn something that you love to get them to get your attention.
And he burns an offering to his mom.
This is the time I cried in this episode.
Yeah. And he's like, and this is where we kind of get more clarification on that motivation of like, he can, my dad can ignore me all he wants, but he's not going to ignore you.
you.
And I'm like,
what a sweet little boy. What a sweet little boy.
And then the bathroom scene happens.
Yes. So Percy's going to the bathroom he's coming back from his burning the offering in the woods, and it's like dusk, almost nighttime, and he runs into Clarice and her friends who grab Percy and throw him in the bathroom, and they're trying to give him swirlies because she wants him to admit that he did not kill the Minotaur, because she doesn't want him to have that
she's
like
jealous
status
that he's already had that kind of like glory when she's been at this camp for so
and
long.
She's convinced that all newbies just lied to fit in, kind of thing, is her like explanation of it. And so they're about to give him a swirly, and when suddenly, for some mysterious reason that we don't know, the water in the toilet retreats from the toilet, and then it comes out, does not get Percy, but it gets everyone else and attacks them. And then they run away because they got toilet water on them. And those toilets were gross, which like whoever was in charge of cleaning those toilets as their camp chore, they need to redo it. That was gross. That's unsanitary. It was a camp, I get it. And there are children, I get it. But also,
it's also the end of the day, so they're probably
gross. Anyways, so Percy's like sitting there being like, whoa, that was weird. And then out of nowhere, we have Annabeth. Yeah. So Annabeth is sitting there, and he's like, have you been stalking me? And she's like, yeah.
Yes. I love her. I love her so much.
She's so good. He's like, why? He goes, well, I wanted to see if you're any use to me, and like talks a little bit about how she wants, does she talk about the quest? No, that was Luke later. Never mind.
That was Luke later. She literally just says, I wanted to see if you would be any use to me. And then
or do anything, or I was waiting for this to happen. It did. Or like something like that. Like,
yeah, it's just it's so great.
She's great. She's a wonderful Annabeth so far. Like, so good. The next day, Luke's showing Percy around camp more, and we get the backstory of Luke. And Percy also asks about Annabeth a bit more.
Oh, and he's like, I'm always on her side. She's my little sister.
And in my head, I was like, oof, poor Annabeth.
I'm like, oof. Oh,
because we do get like a glimpse later, and you see in Annabeth's eyes that she like looks up to him in like the crush way, not this like the older brother way. And so it's like there's like a minute, like it's very subtle, but it is there. And
I'm like, not pick up on that. Fun fact. I mean, like, wrote 2 minutes later. I'm really glad that they're not like that they're underplaying the romance angle.
I mean, they are underplaying it compared to the movie for sure. Walls, but it was like it's like there's like a look on her face that it's not just like, oh, I look up to you as like an older mentor, as an older kid. It's like, no, she think he cute. So
sure.
But we find out a little bit about Tally. We find out that Percy was with a forbidden child. This is the second time we've heard the phrase forbidden child, I believe, maybe third.
I think it's the first.
I think Chiron or someone else says it earlier. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think at least one other time. But anyways, I might be wrong. But we hear the phrase forbidden child. And oh yeah, we hear it because we hear the phrase like when Chiron's explaining the bits about the cabins, like maybe that's later. Maybe this is the first time, and then there's a second time later.
I think it's the first time. There's a second time later.
You're right.
The first one is like Luke giving the backstory of Talia.
Yeah.
Like, wow, we're like just cracking that egg right open.
Which is good.
Sure.
It's good it exists. It's good that they're gonna bring it into this series, this first season. Probably at least one other time at least.
I mean, but they talk about it in the first book.
I know, but like they're doing 5 seasons of this episode of this show, and I'm sure the second like I'm sure each season's going to get longer and longer, right?
Hmm.
So they'll have more time to really get into it. But I bet in like episode 3 or 4, I bet Annabeth and Percy are going to have a heart to heart about Annabeth and Talia's whole thing.
Well, and then eventually, like, they'll have to reveal about Grover
Yep.
unless they cut that out. And that's why I was kind of surprised they talked about it so early, is because I always
They
thought it was
didn't
so
mention the Grover part. Yeah, you're right.
I
Being a
always
part
thought
of
it
it.
was so important for Grover to be the one to like admit that to Percy and like
Mhm.
confess where that's where his
We'll
feelings of
see.
failure.
We'll
But
see.
I think it also works coming from Luke because you get a better sense of like that
Connection
built
between.
built-in resentment
Hmm.
too, even more
Hmm.
than just like the Annabeth and Luke thing, just built-in resentment that Luke has.
Yes. Um, anyways, we get to capture the flag. Oh my gosh. Capture the flag in this version is way more warlike at the beginning, but then it gets back into normal capture the flag. And I immediately wrote, I want to play capture the flag. If you listen to last week's episode in the movie version, I talked about capture the flag and how they did not play it by the rules correctly. This one plays more correctly to the rules. And again, I love capture the flag. Um, but this whole capture the flag sequence of scenes, so good.
Mhm.
Annabeth has Percy come with him. She like is immediately in charge, which I love. And I love that Luke's like, I'm following her orders. Like what she knows what she's
I know. I
doing.
think
Like
that
there's no question. And I
something
love
that I
that.
wrote down in this is like Annabeth, Leah just really does a really great job of like, Annabeth in the books is like significantly more emotional and kind of like
Hmm.
gives a more hot-headed vibe.
Hmm.
And the way that Leah plays her is like significantly more stoic. But I
Hmm.
think it works so well to this version of her's advantage because
Hmm.
it gives a better air of, yes, she's in charge. There is absolutely no question about it.
Hmm.
Nobody is like nobody is doubting her because she just has that commanding presence and it's great.
Yes. Um, yeah, and so she takes Percy with him, and Percy's like, what's going on, what am I going to do? And she goes, you'll know what to do when the time comes. And he's like, what? And then the horn blows and then he trips and falls. And I'm like, yeah, it's funny comedy.
And then she puts her helm of darkness
She
and it's
has
like,
her hat.
have fun. I was so glad she had her hat. I
Yes.
knew she did because I'd seen clips, but I was still like, thank you
It
for
was, and then
understanding.
the next sequence is so funny. So she does that, and he's like, "What?" And it cuts to Luke being like, "He'll know what to do when the time comes." And it goes back to
Hmm.
Percy, and he's standing there flossing slowly. And I'm
This
like,
is just
"This
peak
is
Percy.
this is what 12-year-olds would do. This is what Percy would do. No thoughts, just vibes." And then he's peeing in the woods, and then he's like, "Then this part infuriating." Then he lies down, and there's a crested gecko laying there. Crested geckos Crested geckos are from New Caledonia, which is an island off the coast of Australia. Uh,
Oh,
mhm. They only live on the island, or if they are pet trade crested geckos. There's currently a crested gecko living in my house. It's his name is Nigel. He belongs to Isaac. Friend of the pod. Nigel and Isaac are both friend of the pod. But I asked Isaac, I'm
mostly
like,
Nigel.
yep. I asked Isaac, I was like, these lizard gecko things only live on that island, correct? He's like, yeah. I'm like, do they ever show up in North America? He's like, no. And I'm like, and I paused the show. I made him come over. I'm like, look at this. And he looked at it. He goes, well, maybe it's like a magical lizard that we just don't know about. And I was like, it's obviously a crested gecko. And he's like, well, they are known to be the most docile lizard or geckos. So that's probably why. And I'm like, fair enough. But like, it doesn't make sense.
This is like very fun for me personally because like you're getting this level of like not like in a bad way, but you're getting like this level of like detail oriented.
Mhm.
And then when we're watching a movie and I'm like complaining about plot holes, you sit there and you're like, it's fine.
Yes. Okay.
It's
This
like
does
the
not affect
difference
the plot. It just doesn't make sense.
this is like the difference between a TV show and a movie for you, apparently.
Yes. Yes.
It's okay. It's okay if there's plot holes out the wazoo, but you will not stand for bad costuming choices and you will not stand for inaccurate wildlife, flora and fauna.
Absolutely not.
I love that for you.
Well, only if it's within my realm of knowledge. If it's outside of that, I don't fucking care. Which is most of the things. to be honest.
It just keeps overlapping with your niche realm of knowledge.
It does. Honestly, if that lizard did not live in my house, I would have not batted an eye.
I didn't bat an eye, but I also don't have a lizard.
Anyways, Percy is adorable.
It's true.
Um, so he's doing all these things, wasting
Any kind
time.
of lingering doubts I carried about Walker as Percy, which I didn't have any at this point, but
Yeah.
it totally like that whole little montage of him just being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. First of all, mood. Second of all, Percy vibes. Peak Percy vibes.
Yes, and then out of nowhere comes Clarice and the rest of her team hunting Percy.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking for they express that they're not looking for the flag, and then Percy's like, it's not here. I don't know where it is, guys. It's that way. I don't know. And they're like, we don't care about the flag. We care about you. And he's like, you can't maim me. It's literally in the rules.
And she's like, oh, I guess I'm gonna lose dessert
Which
privileges.
is from the books, and
It
it's
is
so
from the
good.
book, and I was like, oh damn.
So good. And so they like have like she starts trying to attack him with this really cool spear that's like electrified kind of.
Oh yeah.
It was cool.
It was so cool.
And so she keeps pushing him and they're battling until and he's like getting scraped and stuff until they're at the edge of the lake slash river. Not really sure what it is.
I think it's a river.
Yeah. And then he ends up being able to snap the spear in half and she immediately starts like crying.
She breaks out and is the most heart-wrenching scream, and that was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're just confirming that was her dad's gift, wasn't it? Oh, that's so sad.
Every kid here has parent issues, and that's Clarice's.
It's probably the only thing that he has ever given her.
Yep. And after that happened, Luke and his like squad end up winning for Annabeth and their team, the blue team. They had the flag, and then Annabeth takes off her hat, and Percy's like, "Wait, you were there the whole time?" She's like,
"Yep,
yep," which means she watched this child pee. The flossing, yeah, it's embarrassing. She watched this child pee. It is camp. It is camp. And I like, as someone who went to camp in the woods, I have seen like friends pee in the wood. Like, that's like, I'm gonna go off this way and pee. Don't look, like that's a thing.
Yeah.
Hiking in the Alaska world. Like, yeah. But like, you just met this child. This child is a city kid.
Yeah. Indoor child.
He's an indoor child being forced to be an outdoor child at this moment.
Yeah. And yeah.
Anyways, but then she comes up to him and then she pushes him into the water and you're like, what? Why? And then she's obviously like waiting for something to happen, and then slowly his cuts start to be like healed, and then there's like a oh kind of moment, and above his head there's a trident. And
they cut out the hellhound.
They did.
And I don't like that.
I am curious to see what they're gonna do instead in episode 3.
Well, they don't. They just like send them on the quest.
As far as we know, from the little teaser at the end.
That wasn't a teaser. It was like the end 10 minutes, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna go on a quest now." And like,
well, no, in season, so at the very end of the end credits, they play like essentially a trailer for the next episode. And in the trailer, do you want to know what happens?
Okay, so no, I was watching this episode, and this goes back to every episode feels like 5 minutes too long. To my perspective, it felt like they had just shoved in him going on a quest in the last like 5 minutes. I did not realize it was supposed to be a trailer.
No, they did. No, they did. So here's what happens. So this happened, he gets claimed, then Chiron like info dumps like you are singular amongst the demigods. He goes to the cabin really briefly. Like there is like a introduction of the quest, but they don't leave. They're still like they do the whole oracle stuff in the next episode because there's a sport like at the very end. There's a trailer clip of the oracle.
Yeah, but it's still like
so they probably won't have they probably won't have the hellhound. And I think what they just do is so they don't have like the hellhound. What's the purpose of the hellhound? Let's think about it. It's to connect them, be like hellhound Hades, right? That's 1. 2 is to show that someone is breaking rules in the camp, and or the boundaries of camp are being weakened from some force, right? That's like the purpose of the hellhound, correct?
But it's also like the thing that forces Poseidon to like recognize Percy.
Mm-hmm.
Because like in
That's true.
addition, like Percy getting healed up in the water is like, obvious, but at the same time, like since he's trying to keep it on the DL, like it'd be easy to just be like, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, but the Hellhound showing up and actively threatening Percy makes it so that that he has to claim him, so that like he can't just die an unclaimed demigod. People know that if they kill him, then they're fucking with Poseidon. In addition to that, like also recognizing that his secret is no longer safe. So like
Yeah, I
it
guess.
also is showing Chiron like why Percy has to leave camp.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, like, there's no fucking reason for him to leave camp.
Well, there's a
Um,
week and there's a war that he's been
yeah,
claimed.
but Chiron in the books is like it would not have gotten Percy involved in this shit at all if he could have avoided it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that
Yeah,
this
I
version of Chiron, and this is where it gets back to being the flat. I'm sorry, I got a rant
you
coming.
got.
This is
Mm-hmm.
the where the Chiron being flatter comes into play because this version of Chiron is like it's the will of the gods. You have to do it. And the book's version of Chiron be like, well, technically you probably should, but also like you're gonna die. So let's keep you here for like a little while until but the Hellhound is the one thing that forces him to, because if the Hellhound hadn't shown up, then they could have kept Percy safe at camp and keep him out of that nonsense.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
they have like this whole quest shoved in there. They start talking about the Master Bolt and this, and then Grover comes in at the end and it's like your mom is still alive because Percy's like, why should I do this for my dad? I don't care about him. I don't know him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Grover comes in and says, your mom is still alive. And I'm like, damn, this just feels like this was 10 minutes shoved into like 3 minutes, and it's too much.
I think that's fair. I don't miss the Hellhound. I do see that it is a little bit of a stronger reason. I get that, but I think for the
Maybe I wouldn't
pacing,
care about the Hellpound, but the pacing just gets so bad for
it is a
like the
little.
last
It
5 minutes.
is. It is a weird pacing, but they're gonna spend at least the first 10 to 15 minutes at camp the next episode, which like so it's kind of like there's like this weird cut in between. They could have just been like, um, he gets claimed, and then would have been cooler if he got claimed, and then Grover just found them and was like, "Your mom's alive." With before Chiron said anything about like the
Mm,
gods and all that, because then ended it there, because then Percy would have been like, I need to, like, there would have been an urgency emotionally. The episode would have ended. It would have been a better episode to leave on a better cliffhanger of that same emotion. Then it could open the next episode with Chiron being like, here's all this information you didn't know.
yeah.
And
I
then go
mean,
on a quest.
I
That's what
feel
I would
like
have done.
I would have ended it with I would have ended it have the Hellhound still show up. It gets
Mhm.
taken down pretty quickly. And then like Annabeth still shoves him into the water.
Mhm.
Poseidon claims him. End episode.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe they'll throw the Hellhound in next episode. It won't
Yeah,
make sense,
I
but
mean, like
maybe.
it's not the end of the world if the Hellhound isn't in there.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
I just think it's one of those it feels like it was cut for budget reasons, and that's a bad reason to cut things.
Yeah. Um, Before the episode ends, I know we kind of talked about everything, but he does say this line. He goes, I am Sally Jackson's son. I'm not Poseidon's son. I'm Sally Jackson's son. I was like, oh my gosh, protect Percy at all costs.
Was feeling the feels in that moment. Was feeling
Yes,
the feels.
so good.
Ah,
This
and
second
it's
episode is
just
so good so far. Like like I'm full in. Like
everything except the ending, because the ending like loses it
it was
for
like a
me.
little bit like woo, 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 but like it didn't ruin it for me. I was just
It
like,
felt like
okay.
they put the like next 10 minutes on fast forward, and I'm like, you should have just cut it and then made the next episode a little extra longer, because like you're throwing so much information at me and it's a lot.
Hmm.
Or make this one a little bit longer if you really feel like you need to like have that payoff of like Grover finding out that Sally's alive
Yeah.
in this episode.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit longer so it doesn't feel like everything's just shoved in there.
I think there's gonna be I think it'll be balanced in the grand scheme of things once the third episode is out, assuming if they're gonna do what I'm thinking and they're gonna do in my head. But based off those clips at the very end of the ending credits, um, But if you're releasing episode by episode, you're right. It's a weird rushed ending. But I think eventually once the whole series is out and you can like binge watch it, I think it'll flow better. Which is how
Oh
most
yeah,
people which is
definitely.
how people like watch things now, right?
Yeah.
But so I think it's interesting. I think it's like weird, but I think it's resolvable.
Yeah, it was just such a sour note to end like two very, very good episodes on. And you know me, that's all I'm gonna think about is the like one bad thing.
Yep, it's true. I'm like, I'm only gonna think about that damn red jacket.
No, and the
Just
stupid
kidding.
lizard and the foliage.
The lizard's not stupid. It's just in the wrong spot.
Yeah, the lizard's very cool. Love to the lizards out there.
I am full into this Percy Jackson fandom again. Um, I am so excited about everything. I love the actors. Also, I don't really have any fun facts because I get my fun facts usually off the IMDb page or the Wikipedia page and like do a little rabbit hole. There's only 2 episodes out, so therefore my fun facts are very limited. I will say, unlike Amanda, I did watch all the promo stuff and the interviews that have been out. These kids are adorable.
Mhm.
Walker is a hardcore fan, and he was before he got this part. Have you seen the video of them telling him he got the part?
No.
So there's like a Zoom recording that and went around when they announced it, but like he just happened to be wearing a Camp Half Blood t-shirt that he owned randomly that time because like they with actors you have to do a bunch of different times so he didn't know it was
Yeah.
like the last like hey you are Percy like it is the cutest video. I recommend it. There's lately I've been seeing them on TikTok like press junket videos of the three of them together, and they have like such great like chemistry together as people, not even just as actors.
Hmm.
um and then also there's interviews. Rick Riordan made sure that him and his script writers had sensitivity readers read this, and he says that specifically he wanted that because of him writing Annabeth in this new version, because he essentially says, because I'm a old white man, I don't know how to
Hmm.
write in the voice of a young black girl, and I wanted to make sure I was doing not just Annabeth justice, not just the book's justice, but like people justice. And I was like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, Rick Riordan, thank you.
We
And then
really like
it's so
I
good.
tease, but we really do appreciate him doing like
uh, he's a good egg.
what
um
should be the bare minimum, but is never actually the bare
mhm.
minimum.
The actress who plays Annabeth, Leah, has talked about how her acting coaches put in extra work. Like they all like printed off different pictures of historical depictions of their godly parents, and Annabeth remember got the pictures of Athena and it was like, oh, it's white Athena, like whatever. The next day, the acting coach had like 3 or 4 different versions of of a African American like looking Athena, and she said that like that helped her like gain the power to act as a child of Athena, and she really loved that as
Hmm.
an actress. Um, it's just they're cute kids. They there's a interview where they're having like where the interviewer is like, who says these words like later in the series, and there's one where right away Walker, it's like a quote that I didn't recognize and the rest of them I recognized, but that one I didn't. And Walker's like, oh, Percy says that in the newest book. And she's like, you, and then Leah looks over, you already read it? And he's like, yeah, I've read it twice. And I was like, they're hardcore fans, and I love that, like, and you can see, and I'm so happy.
It's so the best part about this is an adaptation is like it's not, and I've said little things here and there. It's not going to be a one-to-one perfect adaptation, and
No.
it absolutely does not need to be, because when you
Mm-hmm.
are making something in a different medium, you want it to be different and you want it to adapt to the new medium. So like the different interpretations of the characters, like Grove. Actually, Grover feels pretty similar to the books. He's a little less. He feels a lot younger than Grover did in the books.
Yes.
Even though he's 24. And this Percy's a little more serious, a little more thoughtful, but honestly, it's fine. He's great. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Leah. I've talked about how I feel like Annabeth is a little more emotional in the books. But Leah's amazing. She
Yeah,
just carries herself with this vibe of like, don't fuck with me, and I appreciate it.
it's good. Yeah, I'm happy and very excited. Again, listeners, if you want to hear our final thoughts about the whole series, you gotta tell me in the Instagrams, etc. It's a good
Annabeth's
story.
reaction to Luke is gonna break my heart.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What is one thing that you're looking forward to in the first season to seeing that you
Hades.
hope? Hades is what you're looking forward to?
Well, most things, honestly, but specifically Hades and specifically the Lotus Casino.
I'm looking forward to Lotus Casino
I know.
because I love the Lotus Casino in the book and in the movie. I'm excited. All right, folks. Thank you so much for listening to the whole season. And I hope you listen to all the episodes of the season one. This is the last episode of season one. The podcast will be back. I'm aiming for late February, but you know how you can know for sure? Follow me on Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast. You can, of course, go to the website, readthebookfirst.buzzsprout.com for all the episodes and such. Thank you guys for a wonderful first season. Thank you, Amanda, and all my other friends that I convinced to read books and talk to me for hours about books and movies. Thank you for dealing with me, making you do that.
Thank you for editing me into making me sound very coherent.
Thank you. You're welcome. Anytime.
Remember, guys, like, share, subscribe, and follow, and read the book first.